Football is a violent sport, which is what makes evaluating players still in high school so difficult. With how prevalent injuries are at all levels, it's tough to predict who will actually make it to the NFL. That's what makes things like the USA Today All-USA high school football team so intriguing. These young men were among the best of the best, but many of them never found NFL greatness. Today, we're taking a look back at the 1984 USA Today All-USA team and seeing what happened to all 24 players, starting with the offense. Hart Lee Dykes, wide receiver. As one of the top-rated recruits in the nation and the USA Today Offensive Player of the Year, it's no surprise that teams all over the country wanted Dykes' services. It's also not a big surprise to know that those teams were willing to pay Dykes to play, with Oklahoma State giving the young wideout around $23,000 to win his signature. The school would eventually get hit with a 3-year bowl ban for the violation, but Dykes partnered with Thurman Thomas, Mike Gundy, and Barry Sanders to form a potent offense for the Pokes. Dykes made 3 first-team All-Big 8 teams and the All-American team in 1988. He was then selected with the 16th pick in the '89 draft by the Patriots. Notably, he was also drafted by the Chicago White Sox to play minor league baseball, but opted to stick with football. Dykes played 2 years in the pros, totaling 83 catches, 1,344 yards, and 7 touchdowns, but fractured his right kneecap in an exhibition game, and then picked up an eye injury after a bar fight that also involved Pats receiver Irving Fryer. Soon after, he hurt that same knee again and was out of the NFL by 1992. He then bought a trucking company and has been working there as of the most recent update I found. Todd Ellis, quarterback. Ellis became a South Carolina Gamecock in college and proved to be a mostly average quarterback at the next level. He ended his 4-year career with nearly 10,000 yards but only had 49 touchdowns to 66 interceptions. Those numbers aren't great by modern standards, but you have to remember the era Ellis played in. It's also worth noting that the Gamecocks' offensive line was pretty bad during his time there, with Ellis even enduring a nasty knee injury in his senior season that greatly hurt his pro prospects. That said, in 1990 he was picked with the 247th pick by the Denver Broncos, but never played in the NFL. He did play a single season for the Sacramento Surge in the World League of American Football, but left the game behind after '91. Since then, he's been working in law while also working for the Gamecocks radio staff for football games. Brian Davis, running back. Davis was a dominant high school athlete and went to Pitt to play football. Unfortunately, issues with grades kept him from playing more than a single season, and he was out of football by 1986. In his lone season, Davis rushed for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. As of 2016, Davis was living in Maryland, leading a normal life. Aaron Emanuel, running back. Emanuel stepped onto the USC Trojans campus with big expectations. During his freshman year, he rushed for just under 500 yards and a score, but was hampered by injuries. Similar setbacks would happen throughout his career, as Emanuel could just not stay healthy and was suspended for a year after punching another student at a party, giving her a concussion. Emanuel came back and had his best season yet with 490 yards and 8 touchdowns, but was again injured. He played one last season with the Trojans as the team's 3rd leading rusher. Emanuel was selected 191st by the Giants in the 1990 draft, but seemingly never played. As of 2022, he was working as a middle school teacher and coaching running backs at a California high school. Sammie Smith, running back. Smith took his talents to Florida State, where he played running back and ran track. In his first season, he only carried the ball 28 times, but by 1986, that number jumped to 103. He averaged 5.9 yards a carry, establishing himself as a solid back for the team. In '87, he ran for 1,230 yards and 9 total touchdowns. The next season, his numbers weren't quite as gaudy, but the team went 11-1. Smith was selected 9th overall by the Miami Dolphins in 1989. He played for 4 seasons in the NFL, totaling 1,881 yards and 16 touchdowns. Sadly, after he got out of football, Smith ran into several legal issues. In '96, he was convicted of 2 counts of possession and distribution of cocaine and spent 7 years in prison. In 2010, his civil rights were restored by the state of Florida, and in 2012, he was working with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes organization at Ole Miss and earned his degree in 2020. Mark Van Keirsbilck, offensive line. Van Keirsbilck took a redshirt season and played for the Oklahoma Sooners through the 1989 season. That year, he was named captain, but I haven't been able to find anything saying he was drafted. Instead, it looks like he entered the finance world for nearly 30 years before retiring in 2020. It looks like he might have then gotten into playing pro poker, but maybe there's another Mark Van Keirsbilck out there. Chris Pettaway, offensive line. Pettaway joined the LSU Tigers for college ball and played for the team for 4 years. However, it doesn't look like he had a ton of playing time, and he did not make it to the NFL. I've been unable to find anything about his post-playing career, so if you have more information, please share it in the comments. Rick Meyer, offensive line. I have not been able to find much info about Meyer's career. He played for UCLA in college and seemingly made his way onto at least one All-Pac-10 team while a Bruin. However, it doesn't look like he played at all at the pro level. Instead, Meyer was working as a physician in Nashville as of 2013. Mark Stepnoski, offensive line. Stepnoski joined Brian Davis at Pitt and was a 4-year starter at guard. Clearing the way for backs like Craig Davis and Kirvin Richards, Stepnoski was named a first-team All-American in 1988 and finished as a finalist for the Outland Trophy. He was then selected 57th overall by the Cowboys in the 1989 draft, falling because many scouts felt he lacked size to play at the NFL level. Dallas converted him to center, and after a rookie season learning the position, Stepnoski became an everyday starter for the Cowboys. From 92 to 96, he made 5 straight Pro Bowls. During that period, he also won 2 Super Bowls and made 3 All-Pro teams. He spent a few years with the Oilers, but most of his 13 seasons were in Dallas. He retired after the 2001 season and moved to Canada. Eric Still, offensive line. Still redshirted his freshman season at Tennessee, but played in 7 games in '86 while gaining experience. He then solidified his spot in the starting lineup as a redshirt sophomore and would help anchor the line over the next 3 seasons. Still earned All-American honors in 1989 and was named the SEC's best blocker. He was then selected by the Houston Oilers with the 99th pick in the 1990 draft but didn't play in the NFL. Instead, he'd spend a few seasons playing for the Frankfurt Galaxy before leaving the game behind in '92. Sadly, I haven't been able to track down any information about his post-playing career. Marlon Washington, wide receiver. Alright, I'm going to need a little bit of help from this one from USC or Kansas City fans. As far as I could tell, Washington spent 2 years playing college ball at USC, however that was in '87 and '88, which means he either sat out for 2 years or he's listed incorrectly by USA Today as a senior in '84. Either way, he only managed 6 catches and 91 yards across his collegiate career. I've been unable to find out anything else about Washington's life, so if you have further information, please share it below. Kevin Mills, kicker. Penn State coach Joe Paterno thought he'd locked up his kicking game for the next 4 years when he signed Mills after the youngster booted 2 50-yarders in a high school game. However, during his redshirt freshman season, Mills pulled a groin muscle and took the next year off to rehab. Unfortunately, it never got better, and he never kicked for the Nittany Lions, though he did win a national championship with the team. Mills would instead focus on his studies and has seemingly led a normal life in the years since. And now it's time for the defense. Quintus McDonald, linebacker. Like Mills, McDonald went to Penn State for college ball. I haven't been able to find any stats for his time with the Nittany Lions, but he was part of that championship roster in '86 as a linebacker. In '89, he was selected by the Colts in the 6th round. Over his 3 years with the team, he played in 40 games and recorded 2 sacks. McDonald also once played all 4 linebacker positions in a single game against the Packers. He tried to get signed on by other teams, but broke his fibula in '95 while playing in the Arena League to get more tape for NFL teams. That would end his football career. McDonald eventually opened a non-profit that focuses on job development for men and women who were previously incarcerated. Sean Ridley, defensive line. Again, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find too much information about Ridley's career. He played at Iowa, but it doesn't look like he started many games. I did find a 2022 article that claims he still holds the record for most tackles for loss in a bowl game with 7 against Wyoming in the 1987 Holiday Bowl, but otherwise it's slim pickings. I also didn't find anything about his post-playing career, so if you have any information, please share it below. Ray Huckestein, defensive line. First, apologies if that pronunciation is incorrect. I could not find a video saying his name. Anyways, Huckestein played nose guard for Stanford during his collegiate career, though I wasn't able to find many stats for his time there. He did sign on with the 49ers in 1989, but was waived after failing a physical. He then spent 1991 playing in Frankfurt for the Galaxy and then played at the lower levels around Europe. As of '96, he was back in the States working in sales, but I haven't uncovered anything more recent. Brent White, defensive line. White played his collegiate ball at Michigan. I wasn't able to find any stats from his time there, but he was drafted by the Bears in the 11th round of the 1990 draft. He was cut from training camp and went to play overseas. He led the Barcelona Dragons in tackles for loss and sacks, which got him a training camp look with the Chiefs, but he was cut again. White played in the CFL and Arena League before retiring from the game. Since then, he's been living a relatively normal life in California, coaching football at the lower levels and working for a pharmaceutical device manufacturer as of 2016. Anthony Butts, defensive line. You're probably noticing by now how difficult it is to find defensive stats for players in the 80s that didn't make a major impact. Butts did play for Mississippi State and was listed as a starter for at least 2 of those years, but I haven't found any numbers to give us a good idea of how well he did. All I could find is that he was drafted in the 10th round of the '89 draft by the Broncos, but seemingly never played in the NFL. He did spend a few seasons in lower pro football leagues, but was seemingly out of the sport by '92. I haven't found any further information about Butts. Larry Rose, defensive line. It's tough to find much info about Rose's career at Alabama. One article I found in the Gadsden Times suggests he was the first true freshman to start on the offensive line in the Crimson Tide's long history. Whether that's true or not, he did start on the offensive line for several seasons, but seemingly went undrafted. That same 2017 article claims he's been working at several high schools in Alabama since leaving the game behind as a player. Ned Bolcar, linebacker. Bolcar went to Notre Dame to play college ball. The stud linebacker grew into a 2-time second-team All-American and was captain of the 1988 national championship winning team. After that great career with the Fighting Irish, Bolcar was selected with the 147th pick of the 1990 draft by the Seahawks. He'd play in Seattle for one season before spending time with the Dolphins in '91. He would hang around training camp squads for a few years before leaving the game behind. It looks like he has since entered the world of investment banking back in his native New Jersey. John Porter, linebacker. Porter played linebacker for at least 2 seasons at Georgia Tech. Again, defensive stats can be tough to come by during this era, but Porter did grab 4 picks during his career, returning 1 for a touchdown in 1986. That said, he did not get drafted after his college career wrapped up, and has seemingly moved into industrial real estate after getting his MBA from USC. Scott Thompson, defensive back. In what's becoming a theme for this list, there isn't much out there for Thompson. He played DB for 3 years at OU, taking a redshirt in '85 and then coming off the bench in '86 and '87. After that, I can't find anything on the internet out of some other Scott Thompson who doesn't appear to be the guy we're looking for. Mark Green, defensive back. Interestingly, Green was a high school classmate of Reggie Miller. While Green made the USA Today team as a defensive back, he started his career at Notre Dame as a wide receiver. He only caught 9 balls that year and moved to running back as a sophomore. There, he became a solid runner, totaling nearly 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns over his career. However, he remained a threat through the air, pulling in 61 catches for 611 yards during his 4 years. Green was selected with the 130th pick in the '89 draft by the Bears. He played in the NFL for 4 seasons, totaling just over 700 total yards and 7 total touchdowns, while mostly backing up Neil Anderson. Since then, he's gone back to earn his MBA and joined the business world. Melvin Gilliam, defensive back. Gilliam became the first player in school history to start in football and basketball as a freshman at Oklahoma State. He averaged 9 points and 3 assists for the basketball team as a freshman, but his sophomore season saw his minutes decrease and he decided to focus solely on football. While defensive stats are tough to come by, he did record 14 total interceptions over his 4 years with the Cowboys, starting all 44 games of his career. It doesn't look like he was drafted, but he did spend some time with the Eagles during a training camp. Since hanging him up, he's entered the banking world while also coaching at the high school level for several years. His son walked on at Oklahoma State in 2016 after playing at the University of Central Oklahoma for a few years, but doesn't appear to have gotten any game time. Scott Johnston, punter. Johnston was set to join Sammie Smith and Deion Sanders at Florida State as part of a heralded 1985 class, but an article from the Sun-Sentinel says coach Bobby Bowden dismissed him from the program that October before he played it down for the Noles. I have been unable to find anything else about him, and contrary to what the USA Today All-USA Wikipedia page tries to tell you, the former high school star did not turn into a Canadian politician.